start using the OpenLink Personal Assistant by logging in using its multi-protocol authentication system. In this case, I'm using the RHEL Auth.me protocol because it gives me fine-grained control over my identity. By that I mean the identity used across sessions managed by the personal assistant and the underlying ChatGPT system. And so once I'm in, just pick the Data Twingler module. So this is this specific agent. So right from the get-go, it's going to tell you about itself. It's going to tell you I can execute SPARQL with certain default settings. Likewise, SPARQL Fed, SPASQL, SQL, and GraphQL. And so I'm going to start by writing or asking it to write and execute a sample SQL query. And based on the configuration, it knows to produce the query result or the query solution in tabular form. And then again, I can stop it since the interaction's asynchronous. That's eventually presented in tabular form. And then I can repeat the process, this time for SPARQL. And again, the default endpoint is the URI burner endpoint, and there is a URI burner specific query service available or part of what constitutes this particular smart agent. So here again is a result. And again, this result itself is introspective in nature. It's simply saying, provide me with a list of entity types and sample entities associated with those entity types. And so it's a very informative query for exploring a knowledge graph associated with a particular endpoint. So you can see the query behind, and it shows you what kind of query was being executed. And then again, we can repeat the process for the next kind of query, which would be a sample SPARQL Fed query. So a SPARQL Fed variant where two SPARQL query service endpoints are involved. That's the URI burner endpoint and DBpedia. So this query is listing movies directed by Spike Lee. And again, you can see that each of the entities is denoted by a hyperlink or a DBpedia ID, and you can click on those links and see the DBpedia page about the specific movie in this particular case. And again, you can also see the code or the query, the SPARQL fed query behind what was executed and the JSON result set that's presented in the interface. And so next we're going to again repeat the same process, but this time we want to execute a SPASQL query. So we want the agent to write a SPASQL query and then execute it. And so it picks the appropriate handler for SPASQL queries and produces a similar solution. Because when all is said and done, you're still executing the same SPARQL query, but you're integrating that into a SQL query. And so it shows you with the code reveal how that integration of the SPARQL query has occurred within within SQL using conventional SQL syntax. And next is going to repeat the process, but this time for a GraphQL query. And there you can see it's revealed the GraphQL query that has been executed. And then you can also, if you want, you can look up the link to the movie in question, Black Panther. And then you end up in the IMDb page. And then, you can also see additional information that's already in the underlying knowledge base that would have been extracted from that page. And repeating the process for the menu, which comes from metacritic.com. So again, you've got a web page, but within that web page, using the OpenLink Structured Data Sniffer browser extension, you're also able to see all of the structured data embedded in that page using JSON-LD. You can also tell the agent, or you can also request from the agent a dump of its configuration. And so, or with a specific focus on, okay, query handling. So the system will tell you, okay, here's how I've been configured. And so you can kind of see, well, here's the endpoint, here's the result format, what timeouts are in play, maximum result set sizes, sample queries, and this applies to each of the query types, meaning you can override these settings if you require, different behavior for your particular queries. So this is simply presenting what the system defaults actually are. And you can interact with the system to override any of these settings when you're performing a specific query. like the native OpenAI interface, we have a lot of sessions, and those sessions are logged, and you can rename those sessions, giving them sort of human-friendly labels for future reference. But if you notice in the interface, we also have the ability to filter the list of sessions by doing or performing simple keyword search. Now, another powerful feature that is offered is the ability to export your sessions to a personal data space or a personal pod or a shared folder that is HTTP accessible.